I'm standing in my $3.2 million penthouse overlooking downtown Chicago, staring at a photo that just shattered my entire world. My wife of 15 years, the woman I built an empire with, the mother of my 2 kids, has another family. Not in some distant state, not overseas, right here in Chicago. Different house, different kids, different last name. And I found out in the most twisted way possible. What I'm about to tell you sounds like something out of a movie, but I swear on everything, this actually happened to me. Real quick, if you're already hooked by this insane story, hit that like button and subscribe, because this gets even crazier. Trust me, you won't believe where this goes. We share real millionaire confessions here every single day, and this one is absolutely mind-blowing. Okay, so let me take you back to where this nightmare actually started. My name's David, I'm 42, and I'm the CEO of a software company I built from nothing. We do cybersecurity solutions for Fortune 500 companies, and honestly, I crushed it. By the time I was 35, I was pulling in about $2 million a year. Not tech billionaire money, but enough to live extremely comfortably in Chicago's Gold Coast neighborhood. I had the penthouse, the Tesla, the lake house in Michigan, everything I dreamed about when I was grinding 18-hour days in my 20s. I met my wife Sarah at a tech conference in 2008. She was working in marketing for a startup, absolutely gorgeous, sharp as hell, and she just got me, you know? We clicked immediately. She wasn't impressed by money or status. She cared about ambition, drive, building something meaningful. We got married in 2010, had our son Marcus in 2012, and our daughter Emma in 2015. Picture-perfect family. Or so I thought. Sarah had always been independent. Even after we got married and I started making serious money, she kept working. She ran her own marketing consultancy from home, which I totally respected. She'd be on calls, meeting clients for coffee, working on campaigns. Sometimes she'd travel for a day or two to meet with clients in other cities. I love that about her. She wasn't just sitting around spending my money. She had her own thing going. Our routine was pretty solid. I'd leave for the office around 7:30, come home around 6 or 7. Sarah would usually be wrapping up work and we'd have dinner together as a family. Weekends were soccer games, brunches at our favorite spots in Lincoln Park, family movie nights. I'm talking full-on suburban dream life, just in a luxury high-rise instead of a house with a white picket fence. Looking back now, I should have seen the signs. Sarah was always protective of her phone, like weirdly protective. She'd take it everywhere, even to the bathroom. If I picked it up to hand it to her, she'd get this flash of panic in her eyes before playing it cool. She said it was because she had confidential client information, and I believed her. Why wouldn't I? I trusted my wife completely. There were nights she'd work late at Starbucks because she said our home office was too distracting. She'd be gone from 7 p.m. until sometimes midnight, coming home exhausted. I figured she was just grinding, building her business. I did the same thing when I was starting out. And honestly, I was usually tired from my own work, so I didn't question it much. But I had no idea that everything I believed about my life was about to come crashing down in the most devastating way possible. It was a Tuesday in March, about 6 months ago. I was supposed to fly to New York for a 2-day conference, but the whole thing got canceled last minute, like 2 hours before my flight. Some venue emergency. I was already at O'Hare when I got the email. I texted Sarah to let her know I was coming home, but she didn't respond. Not unusual. She was probably in a client meeting or focused on work. I got back to our place around noon. The apartment was empty. Marcus was at school. Emma was at daycare. I figured Sarah was out meeting a client or grabbing lunch. I decided to surprise her, maybe take her out for an early dinner since I had the unexpected free afternoon. I checked her calendar app on our shared iPad. We kept a family calendar for coordinating school stuff, appointments, all that. Her calendar showed a meeting at an address on the south side. Pretty far from our usual area, but whatever. She had clients all over the city. Here's where I made the decision that changed everything. I decided to surprise her, bring her favorite sushi from this place she loved, show up at her meeting with lunch. Romantic gesture, right? God, I was so stupid. I drove to the address, a residential street in Bridgeport. Nice neighborhood, but definitely middle class, not where I'd expect a business client to be. The address led me to a modest two-story house, probably worth $400K, maybe less. White siding, small front yard, kids' bikes on the porch. I parked across the street, confused. Maybe the client worked from home? I grabbed the sushi and walked up to the door. That's when I heard it. Sarah's laugh. That specific laugh she does when she's genuinely happy, not just being polite, coming from inside the house. I rang the doorbell. The laugh stopped. Footsteps. Then the door opened, and I swear to God, time just stopped. Sarah stood there wearing jeans and a hoodie, clothes I'd never seen before. But that wasn't the shocking part. Behind her, in the living room, I could see two kids. A girl who looked about 7 and a boy who looked maybe 4. They were calling toward the kitchen. "Mom, who is it?" Mom. Sarah's face went completely white, like all the blood just drained. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. "David," she finally whispered, how did you? "Who is it, babe?" A man's voice from the kitchen. Then he appeared. Tall guy, maybe 40, wearing a bear sweatshirt. He stopped dead when he saw me, then looked at Sarah with this expression I'll never forget. Pure confusion mixed with fear. "Sarah?" he said slowly. "Who's this?" I literally couldn't process what I was seeing. My brain was short-circuiting. "I'm her husband," I said, my voice sounding weird and distant. "Who the hell are you?" The guy's face went from confused to absolutely shocked. "Her husband? What are you talking about? I'm her husband." Little did I know, that was just the tip of the iceberg. The sushi dropped from my hands. I just stood there staring at Sarah, waiting for an explanation that would make sense. Maybe this was her brother? A cousin? Some bizarre misunderstanding? "David, I can explain," Sarah said, her voice shaking. "Explain?" I heard myself say. "Explain what? Why there are kids calling you mom? Why this guy thinks he's your husband?" The man stepped forward, his face turning red. "Okay, what the hell is going on, Sarah? Is this some kind of sick joke?" "Let's all just calm down," Sarah said, putting her hands up. But I could see the panic in her eyes. She was trapped, and she knew it. "How long?" I demanded. "How long has this been going on?" She looked at me, then at the other guy, then back at me. "David, please, not here, not in front of the kids." "In front of your kids?" I said, my voice rising. "How many kids do you have, Sarah?" The little girl peeked around from the living room. "Mommy, what's happening?" That's when everything clicked into a horrible, crystal-clear picture. This wasn't an affair. This wasn't some secret boyfriend. Sarah had a whole other family, a complete separate life. I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer right there on the spot. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely dial. "Mike, I need you, now. Something insane just happened." The other husband, I later learned his name was Tom, looked like he was about to pass out. "Sarah, you need to tell me what's going on, right now." Sarah started crying. Not cute crying, ugly, desperate sobbing. "I'm sorry," she kept saying. "I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen." "Never meant for what to happen?" Tom shouted. "You have another husband? Another family?" The kids started crying. This whole scene was turning into an absolute nightmare. I felt like I was in a fever dream. How was this real? How was this my life? "I need answers," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "How long have you been married to him?" Sarah wiped her face. 7 years. 7 years. We'd been married for 15. She'd been married to both of us for 7 years. "What about those kids?" I pressed. "They're mine," she whispered. Tom interjected. "They're ours. Sophia and Jake. What is he talking about?" I felt like I was going to throw up. She has 2 more kids, I told him, Marcus and Emma, with me. Tom literally staggered backward. You have other kids? This was insane. This was beyond insane. I've seen crazy stories on the internet, but I never thought I'd be living one. How? Tom demanded. How is this even possible? You're here almost every day. You're my wife. And that's when Sarah said something that made everything even worse. I have 2 apartments, different phone numbers, different email addresses, different last names. I've been living 2 completely separate lives. I couldn't breathe. The late night work, I said slowly, the client meetings, the overnight trips, you were with them. She nodded, still crying. The marketing consultancy? Real, she said, but not as big as I told you. I made enough to maintain the other household. Tom looked like he might punch a wall. The days you said you were helping your sick mom in Wisconsin? I was with them, Sarah finished. I had so many questions, my brain couldn't even organize them. Does anyone else know? Your parents? Your friends? No one knows, she said quietly. I kept everything completely separate. Different social circles, different parts of the city, different names. I'm Sarah Mitchell with you, she looked at me, and Sarah Chen with you, she looked at Tom. Chen. She'd been using her grandmother's maiden name. What I discovered next completely blindsided me. My lawyer arrived about 20 minutes later. By then, Tom and I were sitting in his living room, Sarah's other living room, in this bizarre, shocked silence while Sarah tried to calm down the kids. The whole situation was surreal. Tom kept looking at me like he couldn't believe I was real, and I'm sure I was doing the same to him. Mike walked in, took one look at the scene, and went, "Jesus Christ, David, what happened?" I explained everything in a monotone voice. It still didn't feel real. Mike started taking notes, asking questions, getting into lawyer mode. That's when Sarah dropped another bomb. "There's something else you both need to know," she said, sitting down across from us. "How could there possibly be more?" Tom said bitterly. "I'm pregnant." The room went silent, like dead silent. "How far along?" Mike asked, very calmly. 4 months. I did the math in my head. Sarah, we haven't been intimate in months. You said you were stressed about work." She looked at Tom. His face went from shocked to devastated to furious in about 3 seconds. "It's mine," he said quietly. "We've been trying for a third." A third? While she had 4 kids already. 4 kids with 2 different men, neither of whom knew about the other. And now a 5th on the way? I stood up. I couldn't sit there anymore. "I'm done. Mike, I want a divorce. I want her out of my house. I want custody of Marcus and Emma. I want everything." "David, please," Sarah started. "Don't," I cut her off. "Don't say my name. Don't talk to me. We're communicating through lawyers from now on." Tom stood up too. "Same. I want you out, Sarah. This is over." Sarah looked between us, crying harder. "Please, can we just talk about this? I made a mistake, but—" "A mistake?" Tom shouted. "You call 15 years of lies a mistake? You have 4 kids. You married 2 men at the same time. That's not a mistake. That's a calculated con." Mike put a hand on my shoulder. "Let's go. We'll start paperwork immediately." I walked out of that house, that other house where my wife played mommy to other kids, and I honestly thought I might lose it. I sat in my Tesla in that middle-class neighborhood and just screamed, full-on primal scream. Everything I thought I knew was a lie. My marriage, my family, 15 years, gone. When I got home, my actual home, I immediately called Sarah's parents. Her mom answered, cheerful as always. "Hi, David. How are you?" "Did you know Sarah was living a double life?" I asked point blank. Silence. Then, "What? Did you know she has another husband and 2 more kids?" David, what are you talking about? Are you feeling okay? They didn't know. No one knew. Sarah had pulled off this insane juggling act completely alone. I told her mom everything. I heard her dad in the background asking what was wrong. By the time I hung up, they were both in shock. I thought that was bad, but then something happened that changed everything. The next day, Mike called me with an update. David, I've been doing some digging. You need to sit down for this. I'm sitting. Sarah's marriage to Tom might not be legal. What do you mean? She married you first. If she never divorced you before marrying Tom, then technically her marriage to Tom is void. That means she committed bigamy. That's a felony in Illinois. Bigamy, a felony. This wasn't just a betrayal, it was a crime. But here's the thing, Mike continued. I pulled county records. She filed for a marriage license with Tom using false information. She claimed she'd never been married before. That's marriage fraud, another crime. My wife was a criminal, not just a cheater, an actual criminal who could face prison time. There's more, Mike said. I looked into her finances. The marketing consultancy? She's been embezzling from it. Well, not exactly embezzling since it's her company, but she's been misreporting income to the IRS. Significant amounts. She likely did this to hide the fact that she was supporting 2 households. Tax fraud, bigamy, marriage fraud. Sarah was racking up charges faster than I could process them. What do I do? I asked. Honestly, you could press charges. The state might prosecute anyway once this comes out. But David, I need to know, do you want to go that route? Because once we start that ball rolling, there's no stopping it. I thought about Marcus and Emma, their mom potentially going to prison. But then I thought about the lies, the manipulation, the absolute disrespect of building an entire secret family while pretending to be devoted to me and our kids. Do it, I said. She made her choices. Let her face the consequences. Over the next few weeks, everything exploded. I filed for divorce immediately. Tom did the same. But Tom had a harder time because, as Mike predicted, his marriage was legally void. He'd been living with Sarah, raising kids with her, but legally speaking, they'd never actually been married. Sarah tried to fight both divorces. She hired this aggressive lawyer who tried to argue that she deserved half of everything. My money, my assets, my properties. Meanwhile, Tom was fighting for custody of the 2 kids, Sophia and Jake, even though technically Sarah had been committing fraud throughout their entire relationship. The kids were the worst part of all this. Marcus was 13 at the time. Emma was 10. Old enough to understand that something terrible had happened, but young enough to be devastated. I had to sit them down and explain that Mommy had been lying, that they had half-siblings they'd never met, that their whole family was falling apart. Marcus took it the hardest. He'd always been a mama's boy. Why would she do this? He kept asking. Doesn't she love us? She does love you, I told him, even though I wasn't sure I believed it. But sometimes adults make really bad choices. Emma just cried. She didn't understand the details, just knew that Mommy wasn't coming home and Daddy was angry. I hired a family therapist. We all went together, me and the kids, trying to process this nightmare. The therapist said this was one of the most extreme cases of deception she'd ever seen in her 20 years of practice. That should have made me feel better, like at least this was unusually insane, but it didn't. Sarah was living in a hotel. Neither Tom nor I would let her in our homes. Her parents were horrified and angry. Her friends, the ones who knew her as Sarah Mitchell, started finding out about Sarah Chen. Her carefully constructed double life was crumbling in real time. But the universe wasn't done with her yet. About 2 months after everything blew up, I got a call from Mike. "You're not gonna believe this," he said. At this point, I'll believe anything. Sarah's being investigated by the FBI. The FBI? For what? Identity theft. Turns out the social security number she used for her Sarah Chen identity didn't belong to her. She stole someone else's identity and had been using it for years. That's a federal crime. I literally laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd. My wife wasn't just a bigamist and a tax cheat, she was an identity thief too. How did she even manage all this, I asked? Like, logistically, how did she keep track of everything? According to the investigators, she had 2 phones, 2 laptops, 2 separate email systems, 2 separate social media accounts under different names. She kept meticulous calendars. She'd tell you she was working late, but she was actually with Tom and the kids. She'd tell Tom she was helping her sick mom, but she was with you and your kids. She basically ran her life like a covert operation. And she'd pulled it off for 7 years. 7 years of never slipping up, never making a mistake big enough for either of us to catch her. If my conference hadn't been canceled, I might have never found out. She could have kept this going for who knows how long. The legal battles dragged on for months. Sarah tried every angle to avoid consequences. She claimed she had mental health issues that made her do it. She said she was abused as a child and had dissociative identity disorder. She hired a psychiatrist who testified that she genuinely believed she was 2 different people. The court wasn't buying it. In the divorce, I got full custody of Marcus and Emma. Sarah got supervised visitation only, 2 hours every other week with a court-appointed supervisor present. The judge said she'd shown a profound inability to maintain honesty and stability, and that unsupervised time with the children was not in their best interest. Financially, she got almost nothing. In Illinois, infidelity and fraud can affect divorce settlements, and boy, did it ever. She tried to argue for half of my assets, but my lawyers showed that she'd been lying about her financial situation for years, hiding income, committing tax fraud. The judge awarded her $50,000, essentially a go-away settlement. And that was it. No alimony, no ongoing support. Just enough to get her started somewhere else. Tom's situation was messier because his marriage was void, but family court awarded him full custody of Sophia and Jake. Sarah got the same supervised visitation deal. Quick reminder, if you're invested in this insane story, hit that like button if you haven't already and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what happens next, because somehow this gets even more unbelievable. The criminal charges came next. The state of Illinois prosecuted her for bigamy. The feds prosecuted her for identity theft and Social Security fraud. She pled guilty to avoid a trial. Her lawyer said she'd get destroyed in front of a jury. And the sentencing hearing was intense. I went, Tom went. We sat on opposite sides of the courtroom, 2 men who'd been married to the same woman, watching her face justice. Sarah stood there in an orange jumpsuit, crying, telling the judge she was sorry, that she didn't know why she did it, that she wanted to be better for her kids. The judge wasn't moved. Miss Mitchell, or Miss Chen, or whoever you actually are, you committed a systematic fraud over the course of 7 years. You betrayed 2 families, damaged 5 children, and violated multiple laws. You had ample opportunity to stop, to come clean, to seek help. Instead, you doubled down on your deception at every turn. She got 3 years in federal prison for the identity theft charges and 2 years concurrent for the bigamy. With good behavior, she'd be out in about 2.5 years. I watched them lead her away and felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not anger, just numbness. After the sentencing, Tom and I actually talked in the hallway. First real conversation we'd had since that insane day at his house. "This is so messed up," he said. "Yeah. Those kids, yours and mine, they're siblings, half-siblings." "I know. Maybe they should meet sometime, when things calm down." I thought about it. Marcus and Emma had 2 more siblings they'd never met. In a weird way, we were all victims of Sarah's choices. "Maybe," I said. "Let's take it slow. They've been through enough." We exchanged numbers. Haven't used them yet, but it's there. Maybe someday. The aftermath was brutal. I threw myself into work, but my heart wasn't in it. I'd built this entire company thinking I was providing for my family, securing our future, and it turned out half of that future was a lie. Marcus struggled in school. Emma had nightmares. We kept going to therapy. Slowly, painfully, we started to heal. About 6 months after Sarah went to prison, she gave birth to the baby, a girl. Since she was incarcerated, the baby went into foster care temporarily, and Tom fought for custody. The DNA test confirmed he was the father, and he got custody of all 3 kids, Sophia, Jake, and the new baby, who he named Lily. I saw photos on social media. Tom holding a newborn, his other kids gathered around. Another family Sarah had destroyed. But here's the really twisted part that I only found out recently. Sarah had been planning to leave. Both of us. Her lawyer found evidence during discovery, emails to herself, notes in a private journal. She'd been planning to take money from both households, stage some kind of death or disappearance, and start fresh somewhere else with a third identity. We weren't husbands to her. We were marks. Financial security. She'd been playing us both from the start. When I learned that, something finally broke inside me, but in a good way. I stopped feeling guilty about pressing charges. I stopped second-guessing whether I'd been too harsh. She wasn't a confused person who'd made mistakes. She was a con artist who happened to be good at playing house. It's been a year now since that Tuesday afternoon that destroyed my world. I'm in a different place mentally. Better, I think. The penthouse didn't feel like home anymore. Too many memories of fake Sarah. So I sold it. Bought a house in Evanston, closer to the kids' school. Something that actually feels like a family home. Marcus is doing better. He's in counseling, and he's actually started talking to Tom's kids via supervised video calls. They're curious about each other. Emma still has tough days, but she's resilient. Kids are resilient. I started dating again recently. Nothing serious, but I'm trying to trust again. It's hard. Every woman I meet, I find myself looking for signs of deception, checking their stories, looking for holes. My therapist says that's normal after what I went through, but it also sucks. Sarah didn't just betray me, she fundamentally changed how I see people. Work's going well, the company's growing. I brought on a COO to handle day-to-day stuff so I can focus more on being present for my kids. Money's still good. Actually, money's great. The divorce settlement meant I kept basically everything, and business is booming. Sarah gets out in about 18 months. I've already filed for a permanent restraining order. She's not allowed to contact me or the kids except through court-approved channels. Tom did the same. When she gets out, she'll have nothing. No money, no family, no identity to steal. She'll have to rebuild from scratch. And honestly, that seems like appropriate consequences for someone who burned down multiple lives. If you made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. Drop a like if you think I did the right thing, and leave a comment telling me what you would have done in my situation. And subscribe if you want more real millionaire confessions like this. We post new stories every single day. Now, here's what I learned from all of this. If there's one thing I want you to take from my story, it's this: trust your gut. There were signs, small ones, but they were there. Sarah's phone paranoia, the weird hours, the complicated excuses. I ignored them because I loved her, because I trusted her, because I couldn't imagine someone being capable of that level of deception. But people can surprise you in the worst possible ways. You deserve a partner who's honest with you, who lives one life, not two, who doesn't have secret families hidden across town like some kind of deranged sitcom plot. Don't ignore red flags just because acknowledging them would be inconvenient or painful. Trust is everything in a relationship, and once it's broken like this, it can't be repaired. And look, I get that divorce is complicated and messy and emotional, but sometimes the trash takes itself out. Sarah's in prison. I have my kids, my business, my life. I'm rebuilding without the dead weight of someone who saw me as a paycheck in a cover story. Life is too short to spend it with people who are living double lives. And sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's just moving forward and building something real with people who actually value honesty. I'm doing that now. It's hard, but it's honest. And after 15 years of lies, honest feels pretty damn good.